You're still watching Mzanzi Fundiz, where we discuss anything and everything that has to do with South African football. And in the South African fray, unfortunately, we witnessed the passing of one of the football legends, Siya Zulu. A very sad week it is for us South African football lovers. Gentlemen, when we look at what happened during the week, TS Galaxy, could it be that they've overexerted themselves? I mean, since that win, that famous win against Sundowns, and they know Tshwane.
You can look at both ways. Maybe they're just unfortunate because both games they're leading.
And how about Durban City?
Yeah, Durban City. Let's tell them both.
Yes.
They were leading on both games. Somehow in the dying minutes of the game, they give the game away. So you can look at TS that has a lot of young players. They don't have a big squad. Also that can contribute on the energy that exerted a lot in the Sundowns game. And I think it really took...
Yeah, because we take some of these things for granted. Because one game can actually take a lot of...
Because when you prepare a game like a Sundowns game, you also mentally you give everything to that game. And you forget that it's just a 3 points and there will be other 3 points that are equal to the same against Sundowns. And I think that game really took a lot out of them.
But SC, we also have to question the manner in which that they concede these goals. I mean, okay, we saw about with the Hamaldine, providing that cross in. Now, the second goal, it was not supposed to be happening.
Yeah, look, I think the defenders double now, or the team holistically is not tuning up. They're not on into the games. You look at their games, when we talk about the Durban City game, I mean, a player that's coming from the bench to affect the game like that. You also talk about inexperience that you're talking about. They also do have experience in a sense of they've got Mpomvelase in that center of the park.
Does it speak to the conditioning of the players, or does it speak into their mental psyche in terms of saying, hey, but after
I think it's just a psychological thing, Cox. You take it back to the Sundowns game, as Talfuna has mentioned. Chances are that game took a lot out of them, and they probably were fixated for that game like any other team that plays Sundowns, of course. And moving into that game, going to a Durban City game, they should have taken advantage of that. And unfortunately, it didn't happen in that way. You look at their game against Stellies, they're coming up against an astute team in Stellies. That's going to exploit those kind of conditions.
I mean, Cupido,
Look, Cox, experience is very important in football. This is the third time where I've seen TS Galaxy losing a game in the die end. You remember a game against Kaizer Chiefs? Scored in the last minute when the game was finished. There is something that the coach needs to work on.
So it's something
psychologically he needs to work on that. They're winning games before the game is finished. So that is something that you can look at
excitement
as well. But exactly.
Just to interject there, also we have to also credit other teams to say, if this team has gone 12 games without having a loss, obviously people are looking at it and saying, this is becoming a dangerous team.
It became a target.
Of course. Everybody comes to you and they're tuned up to say, nah, I need to really put these guys to the sword. So it's probably other teams doing their job.
All right, Soweto, Sundowns, why le muntweng? Where's
Sundowns
asika ready.
Look, we're talking about Sundowns. We need to look at it holistically, and of course, the red cards also speak about the CAF Champions League exploits as well. And we need to look at the teams that they are playing in the CAF Champions League. But stop. Sometimes the game requires you to apply the dark arts. For instance, the game they played now recently on
dark arts.
Yeah, I can agree and say dark arts, but at the same time, there are tactics as well. Dark arts are tactics, isn't it?
They're careless.
The dark arts, for those of you so yeah, that is just a new phrase.
Yeah, but honestly, Sundowns are very careless. There are a lot of red cards that could have been avoided. I mean, Kudiso's red card could have been avoided. You look at the red card of Obas. It's exactly the same red card that the one that they got recently against Matthews. It's exactly copy and paste. But if you look at it holistically, that this thing did not start now. Even during Rulani Mukwena, Sundowns were getting red cards.
And it wasn't a much talked about point.
It was not much because they were winning games and you talked about the beautiful football they play. But they keep getting red cards.
They're still winning now, but I mean, the fact that they're collecting the red cards or Pokemon, surely it's 9. You can't be at that stage.
Too much. It's too much. It's a lot, and one day he's gonna cut with them. because they will need players in the important games, and they will not get. They're not going to get those players.
It almost did. It almost did.
That conversation. Right now, Ronan is out.
Yeah.
They have 2 goalkeepers that are not match fit, in my opinion, which is Peters and
February.
In February.
Yeah.
And of course, when you look at that, Onyango now has a slash Tapelo Mure, slash Dibusa.
Yeah.
So you look at that, and again, it's going to stretch Sundowns to say, what's going to happen with that space? Are you going to bring in a February that is not match fit to capitalize on the issue of Onyango and Ronan being out? We don't know how long Ronan is going to be out, 2 games or what, but the coach did come out and speak about it, saying that it might not be that long. But of course, you need to have a second in command on the bench to say, hey, if anything happens to Ronan, you come in and you play. So it is affecting them to a certain extent.
And there's a big game coming up. I mean,
there are 2 big games coming up. There are 2 big games coming up. They still have to play Chiefs. They still have to play Pirates, and back to back. And there on its own, the red cards are not going to help.
Essie, as a supporter of the team, there's a trend that I'm noticing, and we have to tackle on that. The goalkeepers are the infield players. How many have you had now? Can we start counting?
Probably 4. You take it back to the days of Surprise Muriri, pushing it back now, you've got Libusa and Morena in there.
Yeah.
So clearly, Mara, it's a good thing to have those kind of players,
All right, Haritebo Sundowns right now to conduct the goalkeeper training session, carry infield players, because they continuously find themselves in this situation. Unfortunately, that's all we have for this segment. Do make sure on Mzanzi Fundiz, as it is your choice. Second half.